folks. Happy Inauguration Day. I'm sorry. I was going to try to say that with a straight face, but I couldn't do it. Let me read something. And then we'll get into the show. I got to find my tab here. I think this is something. Well, just listen and let me know if you know what this is from. These stations of uncensored expression are closing down. The lights are going out. But there's still time for those to whom freedom means something, to consult together. Let me then speak truth and earnestness while time remains. A state of society where men may not speak their minds, where children denounce their parents to the police, where a businessman or small shopkeeper ruins his competitor by telling tales about his private opinions. Such a state of society cannot long endure if brought into contact with the healthy outside world. The light of civilized progress, with its tolerances and cooperation, with its dignities and joys, has often in the past been blotted out. But I hold the belief that we have now at last got far enough ahead of barbarism to control it and to avert it, if only we realize what is afoot and make up our minds in time. We shall do it in the end, but how much harder our toil for every day's delay. If you know who that's from, let me know when I come back. Play the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, Dawg Knight. And stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as PDawgKnight. And welcome back to the PDawgKnight Channel. Today's Wednesday, right? I gotta get that right. Yeah, it's Woke Wednesday, but obviously today we have a lot more to talk about, so we're gonna kind of postpone the woke part of Woke Wednesday today. The 20th of January, 2020, Hump Day, as we like to call it. And I have the cup of libation. Well, actually just hot tea with lemon and honey, but it's good for me, and it helps me not cough the whole show. So I do have it ready. I've been drinking tea lately because I still don't have any taste left, and I don't want to waste coffee on a palate that's not tasting some good coffee. So I'm drinking tea with honey and lemon, and it's kind of nice. I can deal with it. So good morning, everybody. Let's do a quick rundown of who's in the chat, and then I got tons of things to try to get through the day. It's very unlikely that I'll get through all of it, but I'll do my damnedest. And check your logic. Yeah, I watched that video by Matthew Cook. Oh boy, I want to go through it, but it's too much time. Yeah, hashtag resist, hashtag not by president. As long as they don't kick you off Twitter for doing it, I might test the waters today. Who knows? I think it's hilarious, but I just wonder if they will if they would allow. Sorry, hang on. If they allow that to trend today, you would think. I remember a recent presidential election. Now, recent's relative, where that was the number one hashtag of the day for several hours. So I wonder. I wonder who wrote the book of love. No, I don't. No wonder. I don't care. Anyway, let's say good morning to everybody, and we'll get into it. In the chat first this morning was Mr. James PFP. Yes, sir. You get the bell. Oh, wow, that was kind of weak, wasn't it? Is that thing going all the way up? What happened? Oh, I turned this down last night. Let's try this again. Huh. Well, I don't know what the hell's going on there. Let's see. Do I have the right one turned on? Oh, yeah, that's it. Oh, well, whatever. You got the bell. And I'm assuming y'all can hear it. Also, good morning. Good morning, Fox P2, Gunfox61, Maddie, the news chick, and I think Ronan's in the background. Good morning, Tyler F. Good morning, too. Select Boy.
Yeah, boy.
Who else is here? Damn it, Chadwick, a.k.a. Chadwick Dupree. Good morning, Keenan. How you doing? Did I just skip buddy? No, I didn't. Okay, you guys just having a lively chat this morning. Also, good morning, Check Your Logic, who says, good luck, America. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Someone mentioned gas prices already jumped today. I'm like, oh, good God, here we go. I drive a truck that uses a lot more gas than most people's vehicles. Anyway, good morning, Attack Alpaca. What's happening? Good morning to Kevin S. Nice to see you back. Cynical Lindsay. What's up? Jonathan Peterson. Not to be confused with Jonah Pedersen. Also, Legit Low Talker. What's happening? Anna Lynn, nice to see you. Who else? Renee Mayette, my friend. How you doing? Ebony Williams, what's up? Katie did skate. Hello. Higgs in the house. And I'm sure that where's Cindy? Well, Higgs here. That's nice to see you, my friend. F and Mechi. I think I got that right. He said I got it right yesterday, and I don't. If that's the way I said it, that's the way I said it. Pocahontas' Boo, aka John Smith, is in the house. Let's see. Have I missed anybody here yet? Avocatus Diablo, the Devil's Advocate. Willie, today is balls. That Willie says. Well, if I'm going to take an expert opinion about a day being balls, I would certainly take it from Willie. So there you go. Also, Jonas Pedersen is in the house. Nice to see you. Maniac Man, what's up? I must have missed a few people because this thing skipped as it often does. TC Ball, what's up? I think I got everybody. And this is Kyle.
You are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
With the first donation through Streamlabs this morning, who says, hello, chat people and P-Dawg. Well, hello to you too. This is Kyle, or just Kyle for those who don't want to, extend the length of time that it takes to say his name. Just say, hey, Kyle, what's up? What's up, Kyle? What's up, Kyle? Anyway, that wasn't a very good South Park voice. But anyway, so the quote I did prior to the introduction was from Winston Churchill, October 16th, 1938, broadcast to the United States from London. Good morning, Green Badger Outdoors, by the way. So, it's funny how what's old is new again. I demand you say my full name. Okay. Okay, this is Kyle. I'll just use your whole name. I don't want to. It's like preferred pronouns. You want people to say your right name, and I'll do that. I'm good. All right. Anyway, no, that quote was from Winston Churchill. And it's funny how great words can kind of transcend the time and place of which they were said. And and for those of you here, I'll go through it again. The stations of uncensored expression are closing down. The lights are going out, but there's still time for those to whom freedom means something to consult together. Let me then speak in truth and earnestness while the time remains. A state of society where men may not speak their minds, where children denounce their parents to the police, where a businessman or a small shopkeeper ruins his competitor by telling tales about his private opinions. Such a state of society cannot long endure if brought into contact with the healthy outside world. The light of civilized progress, with its tolerances and cooperation, with its dignities and joys, has often in the past been blotted out. But I hold the belief that we have now at last got far enough ahead of barbarism to control it and to avert it, if only we realize what is afoot and make up our minds in time. We shall do it in the end, but how much harder our toil for every day's delay. And it's It's absolutely, it's that time, right? We're in that time where you got to wonder if, and I'm going to get into the tech oligarchs in a minute, but where we gotta find a way. I hate using the term resist because that's their term, and their resist kind of means let things burn, and I say let's be more strategic. So we got to. I got a ton of articles. I'm gonna try to touch on most of them if I can, and we're gonna do our best to get through them because there's a lot of stuff going on. First, let's talk about the what's the title of the stream today? Goodbye, hello, and what's next? So the goodbye is obviously the president has made his address to the nation saying goodbye, and so that's where we're going to start. Trump's farewell address, the moment we started, is only just the movement we started is only just the beginning. Now I wonder, obviously the way things have been going the last week or so, I'm sure the media just has all their pundits just reading into this as they like to. But something that when I was listening to Randy Monk this morning, something he pointed out that's changing, that the media is changing their term regarding incitement. You'll notice that the media is not using that word. And also Mitch McConnell, when he said something stupid, well, should I say it was stupid? Yeah, it was kind of stupid. But when he was talking about Trump and the insurrection, they're changing their language because incitement is a legal term, and I think maybe, just maybe they realize that using that term might put them in legal jeopardy. And I just noticed something in the chat that Ebony, good morning, Ebony Williams, by the way, just said, my dad honestly believes Donald is Hitler. Now, I was just on Twitter, and let me find the tweet that I just really liked. Listen to this. Okay, so this is someone named Felicia Killings. She's an author, and she's actually kind of starting a movement herself of Black conservatives who really want to start reaching out into actual Black America, not just the Candace Owens Black America. Candace doesn't get into the hood. Felicia has a whole network of people who want to get in the hood and start talking about, Black conservatives, stuff like that. And on that note, she had a really great quote this morning, and I'm going to skip back over to that. So when folks tell me Trump is Hitler, I respond, okay, well, let's thank God for our Constitution, which continues securing our rights. And she says that they never have a comeback after that because apparently I'm supposed to get riled up about Trump being Hitler. So let's see. I want to I'll find a way to bookmark that bad boy so I can put it in the tabs today. But I thought that was a great answer to someone saying Trump is Hitler. And let's put it this way. If Trump's a dictator or Hitler or whatever, I wonder if I lose monetization just for saying the word Hitler. Anyway, I don't care. If Trump is a Hitler or a dictator, obviously he's the worst dictator on the planet. He's already been president. If he was a dictator, he would still be president because we wouldn't have had the election. So anyone who says Trump is Hitler, ask them, well, how did we happen to have an election then? How did we have an election from a guy who's supposedly Hitler and he was already president? Wouldn't a really good Hitler or dictator, wouldn't they have won the election or just, somehow extended their term for whatever emergency comes about, which I wouldn't be shocked if President Harris does that in 4 years. Oh, shit. Did I say that out loud? I think I did. All right, let's get to the articles because I got to get caught up here. I have so many tabs open. Anyway, Trump didn't purge the military of the opposition party. I know. I can't. Oh, there's so much to talk about. There is so much, but I gotta get on track because I'll be. Oh shit! I'll be here all day, and I can't. I actually have to leave on time today. So let's try this. We're gonna try to get through this. So Trump's farewell to the nation. President Donald Trump spoke about his economy and the fact that he did not start any new wars during his time in office. In his farewell address. Now, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but in this first tab, the legal insurrection will have, if you haven't seen it, you can certainly watch it here. It's about 20 minutes long. I'm not spending any time watching it, but he began by saying, my fellow Americans, 4 years ago, we launched a great national effort to rebuild our country, to renew its spirit, to restore the allegiance of this government to its citizens. In short, we embarked on a mission to make America great again for all Americans. All lives matter. Did I say? Oh, I'm just messing. Anyway, as I conclude my term as 45th President of the United States, I stand before you truly proud of what we've achieved together. We did what we came here to do, and so much more. Trump did not name President-elect Biden, but wished luck upon his administration. He also denounced the Capitol Hill riots. Quote, all Americans were horrified by the assault on our Capitol. Political violence is an attack on everything we cherish as Americans. It can never be tolerated. Trump thanked his wife, Melania, his family, Vice President Mike Pence, and other staff. He also thanked the Secret Service and America itself. I also want to take a moment to thank a truly exceptional group of people, the United States Secret Service. My family and I will forever be in your debt. My profound gratitude, as well as everyone in the White House military office, the teams of Marine One and Air Force One, every member of the armed forces, and state and local law enforcement across our country. Most of all, I want to thank the American people. To serve as your president has been an honor beyond description. Thank you for this extraordinary privilege, and that's what it is, a great privilege and a great honor. And then he went on to list some accomplishments, which I have a couple articles that I probably won't read today, but just list a lot of the accomplishments of the president. If anyone bitches to you or says to you, well, he got nothing done. Well, I beg to differ. There's a lot of things this president did well that he didn't get credit for. There's some things that he did poorly, and obviously those were all highlighted if you watch the news, but FTG to those people who only highlights the bad and not the good that President Trump did, because there was a lot of good things he did. And then now Biden, well, anyway, Trump included a dig at the idea that Biden plans on a new immigration plan in his first day in office, and there's a whole list of things. That's the hello. There's some hellos, but we're stuck with the goodbyes right now. But he did dig that idea probably so Biden couldn't blame Trump if something goes wrong. Quote, we proudly leave the next administration with the strongest and most robust border security measures ever put into place. That includes historic agreements with Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, along with the more than 450 miles of powerful, one of Trump's favorite words, powerful new wall. Trump lauded the movement that brought him into the office in 2016 and promised it's only the beginning. Quote, now as I prepare to hand over power to a new administration at noon on Wednesday, I want you to know that the movement we started is only just beginning. There's never been anything like it. The belief that a nation must serve its citizens and will not dwindle, but instead only grow stronger by the day. As long as the American people hold on in their hearts deep and devoted love of country, then there's nothing that this nation cannot achieve. Our communities will flourish, our people will be prosperous, our traditions will be cherished, our faith will be strong, and our future will be brighter than ever before. And he finished with, I go out from this majestic place with a loyal and joyful heart, an optimistic spirit, and a supreme confidence that our country and for our children, the best is yet to come. So that was just the highlights. Again, you could watch the address on your own there. Let's see. Good morning, Chrome. How you doing? Nice to see you. What fully completed? I'm not really sure. Anyway, let's move on, because like I said, I got a ton to get through today. Now, some people there are some criticisms of his speech and some of his final actions, including the lack of a pardon for Julian Assange. I heard some people, "Oh, why are you so angry?" is in the House. That's a name, not a question. Anyway, the president looked positively toward the future, but he failed in his farewell address to warn Americans of the dangers ahead. This is by Jay Wig at American Greatness. President Donald Trump delivered his farewell address Tuesday afternoon over YouTube. At least that's how it came into my feed. Twitter, I presume, was not available for distribution. This tradition of a formal goodbye from departing presidents goes all the way back to George Washington. Then in the early days of the country, Washington did not have to leave the office. There was no constitutional limitation on terms, and if Washington had chosen to run, he would have been reelected again and again until the fading end of his days. The country loved Washington, and Washington loved his country, so he declined to run again. The nation must choose a person to succeed him. Washington knew his countrymen would take this as hard news. Real quick, thank you, Ebony Williams, with the nice donation through Streamlabs. Thank you very much. And Ebony,
You are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
Who says, you want to laugh and or cringe? My dad also thinks that the OK sign is a symbol of white supremacy. I still love him, though. Well, the people who say that, I used to think it was just people who didn't understand internet culture, but the media has tried so hard to make that so, and they tried to, the guy that at the U.S. Naval Academy. Remember the guy who was doing whatever that name is, where you make the hole, and if you see it, you punch it, whatever. Circle game. You've seen so many articles about that. You've seen so many accusations of people doing that OK symbol and being, they do some white supremacist handsets. In fact, the other day I read a story about how Kyle Rittenhouse was dragged back into court because remember when he was at a bar with his mom in Wisconsin? Now, he was drinking in Wisconsin with his mom, which you're allowed to do at 18. It's legal in Wisconsin if you're with a parent, and they live on the Wisconsin-Illinois border. But it was like the judge came in and had an order where he cannot drink while he's on, awaiting trial, which is fine. He's 18 years old and he doesn't need to drink. He had no objections to any of these, and he can't make any white supremacist hand gestures or something like that. I mean, literally the judge, because apparently he was in a picture, giving the OK sign, like, I'm okay. Yeah, everything's cool. But no, someone claimed that he was making white supremacist hand signals. FTG to that judge. Okay, let's keep going here. Oh my goodness, Hig in the house with the very patriotic 1776, the most patriotic donation on the planet. And Hig,
you are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day.
Who says, every time I hear someone say, quote, never use political violence, end quote, I picture George Washington's disappointed face. And Cindy Rochelle says hi. Well, hello, Cindy, my friend. And what's up, Hig? Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. And you are the new Streamlabs Superstar Donor of the Day. All right, let's continue on here. The Republic, with its deliberative forms inducing people to govern themselves by reflection and choice, is no easy thing to sustain. Washington's stature had held the early republic together, and for this reason, Washington chose to retire to private life after 2 terms. His last public act was to tell Americans, like it or not, you will govern yourselves. No more kings, motherfuckers. I think those were his exact words. Anyway, and since they would be governing themselves, Washington offered a few tips about how to do it. Avoid foreign entanglements, he admonished. Further, he added, quote, that heaven may continue that heaven may continue to you the choicest tokens of its beneficence, that your union and brotherly affection may be perpetual, that the free constitution, which is the works of your hands, may be sacredly maintained, that its administration in every department may be stamped with wisdom and virtue, that in fine, the happiness of the people of these states under the auspices of liberty may be made complete by so careful preservation and so prudent a use of this blessing as will acquire them the glory of recommending it to the applause, the affection, and adoption of every nation which is yet a stranger to it. That's deep. Never in our history have these principles been more in doubt. We are beset as a people by deep economic and ideological division. A large number of people do not believe our elections are honest. A large number of people believe their political opponents should be deprogrammed through truth and reconciliation or some other political monstrosity. The nation's capital is occupied by tens of thousands of soldiers who are being vetted for their loyalty. Oh my gosh, someone said something about a loyalty oath too. But let's see here. Vetted for their loyalty, it seems, to the dominant political party. That's even worse. Oh my gosh. So they, hi, Funky Animal Earl of Funkdom's in the house. So is Green Badger Outdoors. 1791 should also be a patriotic donation. It's the year of the Bill of Rights was ratified. Well, I could certainly add another one there. I'd be happy to. Yeah, they're being, I mean, isn't that weird that they're vetting them to make sure they're loyal to the current president? Wow. Something about dictators and guys with funny mustaches comes to mind, or even the little fat guy in one of those Korea countries or something like that. It's hilarious. Anyway, the national government and many states are at the edge of insolvency. If in foreign policy we're faced with a formidable competitor, if not adversary, in communist China. It is an economic and political challenge, not as of yet a military challenge, and yet we are completely unprepared to meet it. Our government is incompetent. Oh, that's redundant. And it has ceded political control of speech, a sacred thing that a republic should defend with the greatest vigor, to monopolies that it birthed through the creation of the internet and then fostered through statutory protection. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm going to just be coughing. I can't help it. The embodiment of the incoming administration is a visibly fading 78-year-old man held together by Botox and a facelift and hair plugs. A vindictive 80-year-old woman who controls the House. In the Senate, the torch has been passed from a 78-year-old man to a new a 70-year-old man. Our country is not well. In fact, they're sharing the power because of 50-50. In a time for optimism, only in the sense, as Winston Churchill put it, there is no use in anything else. Trump's farewell address was spoken like it was a second inaugural. The president thanked his supporters, named his family, and Vice President Mike Pence. He listed his accomplishments, and the most important of which has been ending foreign wars. As he looked positively toward the future, but he looked positively toward the future, but he failed to, in his address, to warn Americans of the dangers ahead. I will make my warning here for the president. One can scarcely tell whether what we live in is any longer a republic. Trump ran essentially on restoring the notion of citizenship, the middle class, and Republican virtue. These last two are inextricably intertwined. Even before he was elected, the bureaucracy treated Trump like an infection. The apparatus of the state, what the hell happened there? I hate when they do that. The apparatus of the state openly refused to give the president its cooperations. The unelected, unaccountable security apparatus sought to charge the president and his affiliates with crimes so heinous that, had they been true, they would be treason. Unable to make the case, they took a few scalps on the process crimes and harassed the administration relentlessly. Just never do that again. The president's own party would not cooperate when it controlled both houses of Congress, for presuming they were in Washington to fundraise rather than legislate. They reneged on every promise they had made to the American people, culminating in the spectacular refusal to repeal the Affordable Care Act. The GOP lost the House and only then came to the president's defense, warding off a second impeachment effort. Finally, when the nation was faced with a new pandemic and social crisis, partisans used this in every way they could conceive as a tool to remove the president from office. They succeeded. So goodbye, Mr. President. You tried. We appreciate the uplifting final note, and I too wish the incoming administration luck, because lacking brains or really goodwill, it is the only thing they, or we, have going for us. But I am not just feeling the uplift at the moment. The contradictions in your valediction point me in another direction via Robert Frost. And the Robert Frost poem, nature's first green is gold, her harvest hue to hold. The early leaves flower, but only so an hour, then leaf subsides to leaf. So Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay. So there's that. Let's get back into the some other interesting things. NBC poll. Just because we love polls, right? Everyone loves polls. Whether it's an opinion poll or a stripper poll, I don't know why that came to mind. That was weird. Interesting. Trump retains overwhelming Republican support. Overall job approval steady since the election. Almost 9 in 10 Republicans, 87%, give Trump a thumbs up. Well, yeah, I can understand it. The media bombarded us with headlines that President Trump will leave office with his lowest approval rating. The number most often cited is Pew's 29%. An interesting thing happens, however, when pollsters poll registered voters instead of whoever answers the phone. Rasmussen, a polling outfit that polls likely, not just registered voters, has Trump approval at 48%. And then there's a few headlines that popped up in recent days. New York Times, Trump will leave the office with his lowest approval rating ever. CNN, Trump finishes with worst first-term approval rating ever. Axios, Trump is set to leave office with lowest approval rating of his presidency. USA Today, Trump leaves White House with his lowest ever approval rating after Capitol riot and impeachment. Now, the goal of these headlines, as we all know, not just they suspect, but we know, is to imply that Trump has lost more support among Republicans than he really has. And so the NBC News poll at 43%, Rasmussen had him at 51%. And then it just shows you that. So this article will be in there. But it's fascinating that his approval rating really hasn't changed much at all. Now I'm not going to go through this one, but it's just another article regarding the farewell speech. Just the idea that Trump's farewell speech and the enduring movement he sparked. Just talking about how his. I'm talking about the movie Spark. So I'll just read the first couple things. The radical left and treacherous Republicans are giddy over their success in getting rid of Donald Trump with their fraudulent overthrow of his landslide election. Oh, I could get in trouble for reading this one out loud. But now, let's just put it this way. Now they're turning their satanic wrath on the personal destruction of Trump's nearly 74 million supporters. Weak-kneed Republicans who rode the coattails of Trump to their own victories have now jumped ship, some saying that he created his own demise. Highly critical, these Judases contend that Trump has been a failure as president in their attempt to undermine his many accomplishments while in office, which we'll get into in a bit. The truth is that Trump has succeeded so brilliantly that the radical left has no choice but to destroy him and his legacy. They used a Chinese virus to force national lockdown, to destroy the American economy, further shred our constitutionally guaranteed rights, and serve as cover for a fraudulent, I can't say that out loud. Anyway. I'm going to let you just read this one on your own. It's just more about a speech. I'm going to skip this one because I forgot there's too many things in there that I probably shouldn't read. And if also there's a front page magazine article here just called "Thank You, Mr. President," and it lists a whole bunch of accomplishments. The good things that the media really doesn't want to talk about, which there were a lot of good things, especially if you're on the right. And probably, if you want to go through this list, it's probably the reason that I did bring myself to vote for Trump in 2020 versus 2016. I just didn't think that this was going to be the thing that happened. But let me just give you the beginning here. The title, "Thank You, Mr. President. You were magnificent," which it's interesting to hear people give him praise. It's just strange. Nicholas Daly, how you doing? Daily Fire's busy crushing normie hopes and dreams. Yeah, I know. Amy, how you doing? Cultist4, how you doing? I did not see you, but I do now. And Mike Savage, Blarg. Howdy. All right. Oh, RVA, how you doing? I see you there too. Here's just the headline, and you can read these accomplishments yourself. It's quite a long list. That's why I'm not going to go through it. As America says goodbye to President Trump, Democrats are doing what they do best, pushing forward to the very last moment with their 4-year crusade to discredit, smear, and punish one of the history's truly great presidents. The hyperbole of, there's a lot of people say, "Oh, greatest president ever." I don't know. It's history's going to tell it, and the more you go back and see what was accomplished, that the assholes who are in charge now are not going to probably tell you about a whole lot about this, but it'll be hard to hide it, the actual things that happen, once the memory fades of Trump's style and just the actual accomplishments. That's one of the reasons this article I like, but I'm not going to read it. I'll leave it here for you guys. Anyway, Democrats are doing what they do best, pushing forward to the very last moment with their 4-year crusade to discredit, smear, and punish one of history's truly great presidents. Having never given Mr. Trump so much as a moment of respite from their relentless torrent of defamatory lies, they have firmly secured their place in history as the pettiest, most lawless tyrants ever to defile our nation's political landscape. Thus, it remains for the many millions of Americans who, with sober hearts and minds, are able to discern the monumental good that this president has done for the United States, to lay bare the magnitude of his accomplishments. Towards that end, let us re-examine his remarkable history. Now, I'm just going to go through the first section of this, and you're going to have to go through the rest, because it's very, very long. I'm not going to, but if someone tells you Trump never got anything done, he didn't do shit, well, you're wrong. Here's just the economy section. Prior to the coronavirus pandemic, which shook economies worldwide beginning in March 2020, President Trump presided over a historic economic boom that dramatically improved the lives of Americans in all demographic groups. In 2018, the national poverty rate fell to 11.8%, the lowest annual figure since 2001. In 2019, median household income reached $65,084, the highest level ever recorded, and a gain of $4,144, or 6.8%, since the start of Trump's presidency. So in three years, 2 years, just over 2 years. By contrast, during the final 7.5 years of Barack Obama's presidency, the median household income of Americans rose by a mere $1,043, or 1.7%. Between January 2017 and August 2019, the total number of people employed nationwide increased by 6.6 million people. In February 2020, the overall unemployment rate nationwide was a mere 3.5%, the lowest figure since December 1969. The black unemployment rate in 2019, August, was 5.4%, an all-time low. The Hispanic unemployment rate in September 2019 was 3.9%, an all-time low. The Asian unemployment rate in June 2019 was 2.1%, the lowest level since 2003. The female unemployment rate reached its lowest level in 65 years, and youth employment reached its lowest level in more than 50 years. Now, that's some identity politics stuff, right? But what do Trump detractors react to? Identity politics. So there you go. During President Trump's first 30 months of office, manufacturing jobs in the U.S. increased by 499,000, a 4% rise. This was the fastest rate of growth in manufacturing since 1988. In November 2019, Chase Bank CEO Jamie Dimon, I don't know, said that Trump's economy was the most prosperous economy the world has ever seen. Key contributors to that prosperity were the unprecedented measures that President Trump took to cut the size and power of government. In January 2017, for instance, he signed an executive order that called for the cutting of 2 regulations for every new regulation proposed. In February 2017, he said that every regulation should have to pass a simple test. Does it make life better or safer for American workers or consumers? If the answer is no, we will be getting rid of it and getting rid of it quickly. During the first year of Trump's administration, regulatory activity declined by 74%, where it had been during the same period of the Obama administration. What did I just say there? From where it had been? Okay. Curtis Copeland, a former specialist at the Congressional Research Service, said in 2017, quote, by any empirical measure, it is a level of deregulation activity that has never been seen. It is unprecedented. And President Trump was never bashful about praising the lone economic system that had benefited more people around the world and had lifted more individuals out of poverty than any other system ever devised. In his 2019 State of the Union address, he said, quote, tonight, we will renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist company, end quote. Republicans stood in thunderous applause, while most Democrats remained seated and chose not to applaud. Anyway, good morning, Johnny Hellcat. What's happening? How you doing? So anyway, look, let me just scroll. I'm going to scroll, and I'm still scrolling. And so this talks about the economy, tax cuts, education, abortion and right to life, environment and energy, guns and the Second Amendment, healthcare, immigration, asylum, and refugee policy. This is a very long article, but I'll tell you what. Oh, Trump's so-called Muslim ban, which is funny because Joe Biden this is one of his first day executive orders that he's about to do today. So by now, virtually every American has heard about President Trump's infamous, quote, Muslim ban, end quote. In January 2020, Joe Biden characterized that, quote, ban as, quote, morally wrong, a morally wrong manifestation of, quote, anti-Muslim bias, end quote, that constituted, quote, a betrayal of our foundations of American history and American freedom and religious freedom, end quote. The term Muslim ban, as employed by Biden and fellow Democrats, refers to the fact that President Trump, professing a desire to keep radical Islamic terrorists out of the United States of America, issued a 2017 executive order calling for a temporary suspension of almost all travel and refugee admission to the U.S. from 7, count them, 7 nations that were hotbeds of Islamic terrorism and or civil war. Iran, Iraq, Somalia, Libya, Sudan, Yemen, and Syria. The order also mandated implementation of an extreme vetting process for any and all immigrants and visitors to the U.S. And how did President Trump select the 7 aforementioned Muslim majority countries as targets for his executive action? Well, he chose precisely the same 7 countries that had been named in the Visa Waiver Program Improvement and Terrorist Travel Prevention Act, which passed easily through Congress and was signed into law by President Barack Obama in 2015. So can we shut the fuck up about the Muslim ban? Can we shut the fuck up about the Muslim ban? Because all those, the other like 50 or 40, whatever Muslim countries around the world or whatever that are heavily Muslim, they didn't get banned. It was the 7 countries that the Obama administration signed into law. And now Joe Biden says on his first day, he's going to repeal the Muslim ban. Hey, Mr. Malarkey, you might want to look that up.
Come on, man.
Anyway, let's move on because I got lots to get to. Another article on the speech. I'm going to skip this one too, but just the idea that Donald J. Trump on the threshold of greatness. The lead on this, despite the many ways in which he's reviled today, I believe that history will record Trump as one of America's greatest presidents. Looking at America's most admired presidents, I was able to identify the 4 criteria needed to earn that accolade. Here's the 4 criteria, and then he'll go through why Trump does this. First and foremost, the president led the country through a life and death struggle. Second, the president suffered intense defamation, attack, pernicious plots, and even demonization, both domestic and foreign, but still prevailed. Third, the president defended and supported our republic's foundational documents and institutions, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, including all amendments, specifically the Bill of Rights. And fourth, he supported American liberty, prosperity, and social welfare. All the greats promoted the actualization of the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights during their presidencies. So this article kind of goes how Donald Trump kind of fulfilled those 4 things. 4 presidents have met all these criteria: George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Roosevelt. I beg to differ on Roosevelt, and Ronald Reagan. One president, Donald Trump, is on the threshold of meeting those criteria. His place is reserved at Mount Rushmore. Well, that Democrats would love that, wouldn't they? And history will tell if he is successful. If he is not successful, our nation may perish in the face of life and death struggle. Now, this was from January 2021. That's just from this month. And I think it'll be interesting how people look back on history. So there's a whole bunch of, as far as the criteria, they make several lists here. I'm going to skip this though, but here's just a list that as far as meeting the 3rd and 4th criteria: diffusing the North Korean and Iranian nuclear threats, completely defeating ISIS and the Caliphate, concluding the wars in the Middle East and Afghanistan, which didn't quite finish, but he was working on it, man, except the fuckers who were telling him the wrong numbers in Syria, who should be court-martialed. Renegotiating trade agreements, I think he did a great job with that, and even Chuck Schumer said the new USMCA, or whatever the hell that's called, was a far better, or even Joe Biden said it was better than was it NAFTA? Strengthen NATO by making them pay their own way and step it up to their own obligations, brought energy independence to the United States. And Joe Biden's about to throw that in the dunk tank. Preside over the strongest economic recovery in history, especially for minorities, and including minorities, not especially for, just let's do it for everybody. Now, and damn, did all the boats rise when the tide rose? Hell yeah, it did. Husband and historic stock market highs. Yeah, that's, if the economy goes good, so does the stock market. Free businesses from strangling regulations, advance religious liberty, protect freedom of speech, thwarted, except we're fighting with the techno oligarchs on that freedom of speech thing. Hello, George Washington's in the chat. Oh my goodness. Well, that's I am honored, sir. Advance religious liberty, protect freedom of speech, thwarted illegal immigration, rebuild the military, kept the promise to acknowledge Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, brokered peace treaties between Israel and former enemies. That one, if you underestimate the importance of that as far as our commitments in the Middle East, regardless of what you think of Israel, I know people have different opinions about Israel, but some people saying that, those countries weren't really having problems with Israel in the first place. I don't think you understand the fact that he's got all those countries cooperating and on in a security agreement. If you only understood how much that isolates Iran and puts them in a box and gives those countries the cumulative strength to repel Iranian issues. It's really big. It's not about whether I give a damn about Israel. It's about whether I give a damn about us not having to have obligations in the Middle East, or not having to have our hands over there as much because they can take care of themselves by having those agreements with the Sunni nations and Israel. It's a big damn deal, even if you don't give a shit about Israel. It really is, and it's a masterstroke in foreign policy that I never saw coming from Donald Trump, of all people. But Jared Kushner did a fantastic job with that, and you're going to see, as long as Biden doesn't fuck it up, and I don't think he has an opportunity to, because those countries are already signing agreements. They're already in there, and Saudi Arabia is in the mix too. So that's why I'm excited about it. You know, whether you care about it, again, whether you care about Israel or not, it allows us to stop being the regional police of the Middle East, and get our troops out of there right now. Let the Middle East take care of the Middle East with friendly countries who all have an agreement, and it puts Iran in the box. So, and by the way, thank you, Quandre Washington the Fourth. How you doing? All right. Anyway, so that's that. Let's move on. Why did I pull this one up? Oh yeah, this is here's the problem. I was telling you about. I've been talking a lot about techno oligarchies, and this article kind of highlights where I was going here. Let me move this so you can see it too. I don't have it centered. Let's try this real quick. Clarity in Trump's wake. I said the name of the stream was what? What was it? Goodbye, hello, and what's next. This is kind of in the what's next phase a little bit. Oh, what happened here? Let me get my chat here. But trying to step up in the Middle East vacuum. Not necessarily. They're still America-friendly countries. Hello, Kyra Alexander. How you doing? But he would tell you USA is dead and gone, forever here to this lifeline. Yeah, I don't know. The fact that that regional force is also cooperating. I can't remember what they call it. Is it the GCC or something like that? They don't need to start another war with another country. Will be used to feed the military-industrial complex. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but our troops don't have to be there. We don't have to have boots over there as much if they have their own regional force that can compete with Iran and the other dangers over there. I don't know. All right, real quick. Oh, thank you, James Colley. And welcome, James Colley, by the way, who says, with the donation, says, pesky Muslims sneaking into your country. No worries. I'm sorry. This is an ad. For those of you who are new here, if you do donations and don't really have, don't want to make a special point, you can also write an ad for the show. And it looks like we have a new sponsor here. The JCL, thank you, James Colley. Oh, James Colley Labs. Okay. Pesky Muslims sneaking into your country. No worries. JCL has you covered with Spamgate. Yes, spam. We cover the borders with spam. After all, it's about the only thing it's good for. Left field ideas today for a bright tomorrow. There you go. So if they travel to Mexico, Canada, and try to get into the okay, so this is kind of a Muslim ban thing. Spam, using spam, like the wall of spam. The problem is, I don't think that'll be effective on the other people trying to get into the country, but certainly, I feel you there, James Colley. Thank you very much. All right. This person argues that the United States of America is now a classic oligarchy. I'd say a techno-oligarchy. The clarity that it has brought to our situation by recognizing this fact is its only virtue. So this is talking about, it starts out, Texas versus Pennsylvania et al. did not deny setting rules for the 2020 election contrary to the Constitution. On December 10th, 2020, the Supreme Court discounted that. By refusing to interfere as America's ruling oligarchy serves itself, the court archived what remained of the American Republic system of equal justice. That much is clear. In 2021, the laws, customs, and habits of the heart that had defined the American Republic since the 18th century are things of the past. American movements and interactions under strictures for which no one ever voted. Government disarticulated society by penalizing ordinary social intercourse and precluding the rise of spontaneous opinion therefrom. Together with corporate America, it smothers minds through mass and social media with relentless, pervasive, identical, and ever-evolving directives. In that way, these oligarchs have proclaimed themselves as arbiters of truth, entitled and obliged to censor whoever disagrees with them as systemically racist adepts of conspiracy theories. Corporations and the government itself require employees to attend meetings personally to acknowledge their guilt. White guilt.
Your life makes me sad.
That's not what I wanted. I was going to do this one.
You're fucking a white male!
While violent felons are released from prison, anyone may be fired or otherwise have his life wrecked for questioning government corporate sentiment. Today's rulers don't try to convince, they demand obedience, and they punish. Russians and East Germans under communists Leonid Brezhnev and Erich Honecker in the 1970s lived under less ruling class pressure than to do today's Americans. And their rulers were smart enough not to insult them, their country, or their race. In 2015, Americans could still believe they lived in a republic in which life's rules flow from the people through the representatives. In 2021, a class of rulers draw their right to rule from self-declared experts, claims of infallibility that dwarf Baroque kings' pretensions. In their self-referential sense, the United States of America is now a classic oligarchy. And then she goes on to explain how this happened, giving kind of a history of capitalist socialism in American. The point being, let me do this real quick. Thank you, Bear Cock. Since the 1950s. Well, Colt's been around longer than that, but in Minecraft. Thank you, Bear Cock. I'm not going to say nice to see you again, Bear Cock. Yeah. Good Lord. Anyway, the article goes through how. Well, here I think I'll keep going on this one. Oligarchy has long been growing within America's Republican forms. In the 2016 election posed the choice of whether its rise should consolidate or not. Consolidation was very much in the cards, but how that election and its aftermath led to the fast, thorough revolution of American life depended on how Donald Trump acted as the catalyst who clarified, energized, and empowered our burgeoning oligarchy peculiarities. These, along with the manner in which the oligarchy seized power between November 2016 and November 2020, ensure that its reign will be ruinous and likely short. The prospect that the Republic's way of life may thrive among those who wish it to depends on the manner in which they manage the civil conflict that is now inevitable. Inevitable? I'm not 100% on there, but by the 21st century, first decade, little but formality was left of the American Republic. The 1942 Joseph Schumpeter's Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy described the logic by which government and big business tend to coalesce into socialism in theory, oligarchy in practice. But by then, that logic had already imposed itself on the Western world. Italy's 1926 Law of Corporations, fascism's charter, inaugurated not so much the regulation of businesses by government as the coalescence of the twain. Over the ensuing decade, it was more or less copied throughout the West. Like our tech companies. Anyway, in America, the 1890 Sherman Antitrust Act authors had erected barriers against private oligopolies and monopolies. By maintaining competition between big business, they hoped to preserve private freedoms and limit government's role. But the Great Depression's pressures and temptation led to the New Deal's rules that differed little from Italy's. No matter that, as the Supreme Court pointed out in Schechter Poultry versus U.S., public-private amalgamation does not fit in the Constitution. It grew, nevertheless, alongside the notion that good government proceeds from the experts' judgments rather than from the voters' choices. The miracles of production that America brought forth in World War II seem to validate that point. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who had come to understand large organizations that feed on government power and dispense vast private benefits, was not shy in warning about the danger they pose to the republic. We're still talking about the tech companies. His warning about the military-industrial complex that he knew so well is often misunderstood as a mere caution against militarism. But Ike was making a broader point. Amalgams of public and private power tend to prioritize their corporate interests over the country's. This is why Eisenhower cautioned against the power of government-funded expertise. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocations, and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded, he said, because public policy could itself become a captive of a scientific, technological elite. Has anyone heard of Dr. Fauci? Government money can accredit a self-regarding elite because a government contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. Government experts can end up substituting their power for truth. Vaccines. Shh. Don't say that too loud. Vaccines. Shh. Don't say that too loud. Vaccines. Shh. The expansion of government power through the 1960s and 1970s in pursuit of improving education, eradicating poverty, and uplifting blacks created complexes of public-private power throughout America that surpassed the military-industrial complex in size and, above all, influence. Consider education. Post-secondary education increased fourfold from 9% of Americans holding four-year degrees in 1965 to 36% in 2015. College industrial complex, anybody? College towns, see if this, look around where you live and see if this is true. College towns became islands of wealth and political power. From them came endless studies that purported to be arbiters of truth and wisdom. Oh, studies as in science, as in believe the science. From them came endless studies that purported to be arbiters of truth and wisdom, as well as a growing class of graduates, increasingly less educated, but ever so more socially, politically uniform. There's a name for that. There's a name for that. Indoctrination. In the lower grades, per pupil expenditure in constant dollars went from $3,200 in 1960 to $13,400 in 2015. That money fueled an even more vast, powerful complex, one that includes book publishers, administrators, and labor unions, and that has monopolized the minds of at least two generations. As it grew, the education establishment also detached itself from voters' control. In the 1950s, there were more than 83,000 public school districts in America. By 2015, only around 13,000 remained for the population twice as large. Today, parents have many times less influence over their children's education than did their grandparents. Analogous things happen in every field of life. Medicine came to be dominated by the government's relationship with drug companies and hospital associations. But yes, let's do have Medicare for all. When Americans went to buy cars or even light bulbs or shower nozzles, they found their choices limited by deals between government, industry, and insurance companies. These entities regarded each other as stakeholders in an oligarchic system, but they had ever less need to take account of mere citizens in what was becoming a republic in name only. As the 20th century was drawing to a close, wherever citizens looked, they saw a government and government-empowered entities over which they had ever less say, which ruled ever more unaccountably, and whose attitude towards them was ever less friendly. This is getting right up to the getting right up to the techno oligarchs, isn't it? The formalities were the last to go. Ever since the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215 AD, the ruler's dependence on popular assent to expenditures has been the essence of limited government. Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution enshrines that principle. Congressional practice embodied it. Details of bills and expenditures were subject to public hearings and votes in subcommittees, committees, and the floors of both houses. But beginning in the early 1980s and culminating in 2007, the U.S. government abandoned the appropriations process. Until 1981, Congress had used continuing resolutions to continue funding government operations unchanged until regular appropriations could be made. Thereafter, as congressional leaders learned how easy it is to use this vehicle to avoid exposing what they are doing to public scrutiny. I'm just thinking of the last stimulus bill before they came up with that $600 crap that Nancy Pelosi wanted to push through. Anyway, they legislated, appropriated ever less in public, and increasingly put Congress output into continuing resolutions or omnibus bills amounting to trillions of dollars and thousands of pages. Impossible for representatives and senators to read. Well, wait. You'll find out what's in it after we pass it. You have to pass it to find out what's in it. And presented them as the only alternative to shutting down the government. Yeah, we've seen that a few times. The U.S. government's standard operating procedure enables the oligarchy stakeholders to negotiate their internal arrangements free from responsibility to citizens. It's the practical abolition of Article 1, Section 9 and the Magna Carta itself. In the 21st century, the American people trust in government plummeted as they, on the political left as well on the right, realize that those in power care little for them. As they watched corporate and nonprofit officials trade places with public officials and politicians while getting much richer, they felt impoverished and disempowered. Since the ruling class embraced Republicans and Democrats, elections seemed irrelevant. The presidential elections of 2008 and 2012 underlined that whoever won, the same people would be in charge, and that the parceling out of wealth and power amongst stakeholders would continue. Americans on the right were especially aggrieved because the oligarchy had become culturally united in disdain for Western civilization in general and for themselves in particular. The cultural warfare it waged on the rest of America inflamed opposition, but it also diluted its focus on solidifying profitable arrangements. By 2016, America was well into the classic cycles of revolution, the atrophy of institutions, the waning of Republican habits, the increasing reciprocal disrespect between classes that have less in common culturally, dislike each other more, and embody ways of life more different from one another than did the 19th century's Northerners and Southerners, precluded returning to traditional Republican life. The election would determine whether the oligarchy could consolidate itself. More important, it would affect the speed by which the revolutionary vortex would carry the country and the amount of violence this would involve. Now it gets into what the Trump part here. By 2015, the right side of America's challenge to the budding oligarchy was inevitable. Trump was not inevitable. Senator Ted Cruz had begun posing through a thorough challenge to the stakeholders most Americans disrespected. Candidate Trump was the more gripping showman. His popularity came from his willingness to disrespect them loudly. Because the other 16 Republican candidates ran on different bases, none ever had a chance. Inevitably, the victory in a field so crowded depended on which minor candidate did or did not withdraw. There never was a head-to-head choice between Trump and Cruz. Trump's candidacy drew the ferocious opposition it did primarily because the entire ruling class recognized that, unlike McCain in 2008 and Romney in 2012, he really was mobilizing millions of Americans against the arrangements by which the ruling class live, move, and have their being. Since Cruz's candidacy represented the same threat, it almost certainly would have drawn no less intense self-righteous anger. Nasty narratives could have been made up about him out of whole cloth just as easily as about Trump. And I got to tell you, I was kind of a Cruz guy in 2016, but I was skeptical of all of them. But Trump's actual peculiarities made it possible for the oligarchy to give the impression that its campaign was about his person, his public flouting of conventional norms, rather than about the preservation of their own power and wealth. The principal consequence of the ruling class opposition to candidate Trump was to convince itself and then its followers that defeating him was so important that it legitimized, indeed dictated, setting aside all laws and truth itself. Particular individuals have never been the oligarchy's worry. In 2008, as Barack Obama was running against Hillary Clinton and John McCain, far cries from Trump, he pointed to those Americans who, quote, cling to God and guns as the problem's root. In 2016, Clinton's remarked that Trump supporters were a basket of deplorables, racist, sexist, homophobes, etc., merely voiced what had long been the oligarchy's consensus judgment of most Americans. For them, pushing these Americans as far away as possible from the levels of power, treating them less than citizens, had already come to define justice and right. Donald Trump, his bombastic, hyperbolic style, his tendency to play fast and loose with the truth, even to lie as he insulted his targets, fit perfectly the oligarchy's image of his supporters and lent a color of legitimacy to the utterly illegitimate conclusion between the oligarchy's members in government and those in the Democratic Party against Trump. Thus did the FBI and CIA, in league with major media and the Democratic Party, spy on candidate Trump, concocting and spreading all manners of synthetic dirt about him. Nevertheless, to universal surprise, he won, or rather, the oligarchy lost the 2016 election. The oligarchy's disparate members had already set aside laws, truth, etc. in opposition to Trump. The realization that the presidency's awesome powers now rested in his hands fostered a full court press. #resistance. Trump's peculiarities helped make it far more successful than anyone could have imagined. It goes on to how they use that to actually increase the power of the oligarchy and how they fought back. But let's just put it this way. The result of fighting back from the I would say just the establishment, that'd be the good word for it. The establishment is back with a vengeance. And I think those who appreciated Trump, should start thinking about how we fight back, not just Democrats or Republicans, but the establishment, the oligarchies. And it's a tough hole because they got a lot of money. Someone's question here is, Ted Cruz, originally from Canada. No, he was born of American parents. I think he might have been born in Canada, but he was born to American parents who were there working, and so he's eligible based on the Constitution. But anyway, the rest. But again, I got so many more articles to touch on. Other things in the docket today. When you get your tabs, America, a country of victorious socialism, kind of warning about what's going on as far as the how the again, it's more about how the establishment has won this time and just what needs to be done about that. I'm just leave that one alone right now. Good morning, Noble Valor. How you doing? Waiting for the boog. I'm not sure what the boog is, but welcome to the show. And also Infamous One. How you doing? Let me see. Let me get the ones that I really wanted to touch on. Speaking of oligarchy and how the Democrats view how they fight back, Democrats pledge to fight Trump rule, ensuring banks won't refuse service to conservatives. So as we know that some of these banks and like Visa and whatever have been fighting the have been trying to deplatform people by making it impossible to process payments through their businesses and things like that. And in its final days, the Trump administration is seeking to disrupt the way progressive activists increasingly impose their will on big business through banks controlling the loan lifelines to the economy. Now, this is a regulation that he brought in. A regulation just finalized aims to prevent lenders from blackballing businesses and industries opposed by the left by requiring banks to demonstrate that their loan decisions are based on quantitative, impartial, risk-based standards rather than political or reputational concerns. So basically, it's all we need, fair banking law. Yeah, banking should not be political. Banking should be based on if you do fair business practices. The proposed fair access to financial services rule is a response to successful pressure campaigns waged by environmental groups and congressional Democrats, which culminated in every major American bank refusing to finance drilling projects in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, despite such drilling being authorized by President Trump in 2017. They've also used this against guns, where some credit card companies, they're trying to make it so credit card companies refuse business to gun sales locations that sell certain types of weapons. You know what that one that has the 2 letters and a number. You know what I'm talking about? So this is a good article just talking about how that particular new regulation it's going to be dependent if the Biden administration lets this one slide, and I got a feeling that's not. But anyway, you can read about this one too, because like I said, I got tons of tabs. Oh, and this is how long? This is a short one. I am gonna read this one because I wanted to make sure, kind of on the theme of what did we call it yesterday? Multiracial whiteness. If you didn't see yesterday's show, go watch the first hour where we get into that article on multiracial whiteness. Well, this one's talking about how anti-racism has come to the heartland. Middle school in Springfield, Missouri recently held a diversity training program that forced teachers to locate themselves on an oppression matrix and watch a video of George Floyd's last words. According to whistleblower documents and teachers who attended the program at Cherokee Middle School, the training began with a land acknowledgement. Are you familiar with land acknowledgements? Claiming that Springfield Public Schools is built on ancestral territory of the Osage, Delaware, and Kickapoo nations and peoples. At the time of publication, Springfield Public Schools has not responded to a request for comment. The diversity trainers, Jeremy Sullivan and Mickey Williamson, asked the teachers to acknowledge the dark history and violence against Native and Indigenous people before engaging in the day's program of social justice work. The trainers then forced the teachers to watch a 9-minute video of George Floyd's last words. The film is silent, showing only white text on a black screen, illustrating Floyd's final utterances, including his cries for his mother. Such videos are a common technique in many diversity training programs and cult indoctrinations. The intention is to overload the senses of the participants and create an emotional anchor that serves to justify subsequent political arguments, even if they're non sequiturs. Next, Sullivan announced the agenda. Quote, we're going to look at 3 large concepts, and those concepts are oppression, white supremacy, and systemic racism. He and Williamson provided the teachers a handout to locate themselves on an oppression matrix. See, you could only be an oppressor or oppressed, apparently, which defines white heterosexual males.
Why the fuck? You're fucking a white male!
As the privileged social group, and women, minorities, transgender, and LGBT people as oppressed social groups. Presumably, those at the top of the oppression matrix. Oh, yeah. Thank you, GunFox61, for the donation through Streamlabs. Mega news drop yesterday. Check Discord for details. Now let's start the meme war of 2021. Post the dank memes to troll the left. Yeah, on our Discord, there is a ton of news, too, that you can get to. GunFox is especially prolific, but lots of people drop in news. If you haven't joined the Discord for the PDawgKnight channel, that link pops up in the chat. So there's just tons and tons of news in there, and I got to get to that today because I'm getting caught up on there. So then let's see. So they looked at the 3 large concepts: white supremacy, systemic racism, and oppression. Put them on an oppression matrix, and presumably those at the top of the oppression matrix, including many of the teachers in the room, are responsible for the racism, sexism, transgender oppression, heterosexism, and classism against disfavored groups. Again, in this agenda, you are either an oppressor or you are oppressed. There is no middle ground, and it's usually based on immutable traits that you have. The diversity trainers then narrowed the focus to race, distributing another handout that outlines the concepts of overt white supremacy and covert white supremacy. The document claims that lynching, hate crimes, KKK, neo-Nazis, and burning crosses are socially unacceptable forms of white supremacy. Duh. While education funding from property tax, color blindness, calling the police on black people, BIPOC, as Halloween costumes, not believing experiences of BIPOC, tone policing, and white silence are socially acceptable forms of white supremacy. See, you're a white supremacist no matter what. 70 articles. Holy shit, I got to get caught up. This is a dangerous conflation. The trainers are attempting to extend the stigma of true social evil, slavery, lynching, Nazism, to any deviation from progressive political preferences, from property taxes to criminal justice to Halloween costumes. According to one teacher who attended the training, this is a good part of the article, by the way. According to one teacher who attended the training, the handout originally listed MAGA as a form of covert white supremacy. But it was removed after public outcry. The principle, however, has remained. Diversity trainers use the emotional overload of historical evils to justify imposition of current dogma. Even more cynically, diversity trainers such as those at Springfield Public Schools. By the way, this is the Woke Wednesday part of the show. Have begun to insist on a standard of, quote, affirmative consent, end quote. This means that teachers must not only accept the tenets of the training, in some cases even condemning themselves as white supremacists or oppressors, but also actively vocalize that acceptance. When one teacher said that he was afraid to say anything, Sullivan quickly shut him down, telling the teacher that he must think what an underrepresented or under-resourced student might say of our fear of speaking up. Remember, under the new ethics, disagreement is verboten. Silence is transformed into an admission of guilt. White silence is violence! White silence is a form of white supremacy. Finally, after more than an hour of training, one white teacher who was raised by a black stepfather began pushing back, asking, quote, "So, is the district saying that we should be Marxists?" He continued. While I don't, or he continued, while I don't think there's a person in the room who doesn't agree that this is an important topic that should be dealt with, the way that it's being framed comes from Herbert Marcuse, who took and stripped all of the economic policies of Marxist theory and turned it into cultural Marxism. I grew up the son of a black man, and he raised me to believe in Dr. King's teachings. Dr. King did not teach the kind of vitriol that we see out of Marxism, which has a long, replete history of countries which being bigoted and prejudiced against others and then murdering millions as a result. The diversity trainers, both white, were stunned. At first, Sullivan acknowledged that Marxist orientation of the diversity training program. I know that that's the roots. I'm aware of all that information, he said. Then, perhaps realizing teaching Frankfurt School Marxism in a Missouri public school could be controversial, he distanced himself. Quote, "The goal here is to take a stand against racism. It's not to be totalitarian." Oh, really? There's not some big political agenda. It's certainly not Marxism. It's just, let's make sure that all of our kids are valued and celebrated. And that's the tell. Many diversity training programs and the political movement known as Black Lives Matter operate on the principle of bait and switch. Following Marcuse, they predicate their rhetoric on the emotional anchor of racial suffering, then use euphemisms to make their political arguments. In the Missouri training program, the school district proposes empowerment as the solution, which sounds anodyne, even appealing. However, in the documentation, the district defines empowerment as training students to refuse to accept the dominant ideology and their subordinate status and take action to redistribute social power more equitably. Marxism. The district defines euphemism with more euphemisms, but the deeper meaning of it is clear, that American society is white supremacist and must be replaced with a regime of race-based redistribution. For years, Americans have watched as educators have pushed deeply divisive anti-racism programs in coastal cities such as Berkeley, Portland, and Seattle. Now, anti-racism is coming to the heartland. So, if you have kids in school, pay attention to what they're learning, and maybe even pay attention to what your teachers are learning. Good morning, Assassin of the Gray. How you doing? So anyway, here's some of the other things that I'm just not going to get to today. Fascist Democrats are using a manufactured emergency to create a one-party state. Yeah, if they're kicking out some of the National Guard people because of their, might have some wrong think in their history or might know somebody with wrong think. I think that creating one-party state certainly is what's happening. You can read that one. It will be in the tabs also. Did you hear acting Department of Homeland Security Deputy Secretary said Nancy Pelosi wanted crew man machine guns in Washington for the inauguration, and that was rejected. Do people really understand how inaccurate machine guns? They're really only good for really, really long thing or really large items. Anyway, I linked the show this morning around Discord. Good sir, got you covered. Thank you very much. So yeah, she wanted she wanted National Guard troops and people with manned machine guns. And the only part I'm going to get to in this article, is the lead. Ken Cuccinelli told Fox News the story with Martha McCallum on Tuesday that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi requested more National Guards to be sent to Washington, D.C., even requesting crewman machine guns, a sharp contrast between how she reacted when President Donald Trump wanted to use the military to deal with the violence from nationwide Black Lives Matter protests. That's the line I wanted you to see. But she said, violence has no place and violence must be addressed. Pelosi told National Public Radio. Anyway, I just think that's hilarious. You can read the rest of the article yourself. That's the punchline, though. And then also for another front page article about, they call it Capture the False Flag. Particularly this young man right here, I can't remember his name, John Sullivan, I think, who was part of got interviewed on CNN by Anderson Cooper because he was a journalist covering the Capitol breach. Well, it's been found out that he has some other issues, as in he's been well-known Antifa person and BLM person in Utah, talking about how they want to tear down the whole system. Also, when they were looking at some of his video that he took, he was inciting. Did you hear that word? He was inciting rioters to destroy things and burn this shit down was one of the quotes. You can read more about that here. And it talks a little bit about some of the... Now, I'm not going to blame the riots on Antifa. There were, in fact, though, Antifa people in this particular riot. In fact, there was a video of a bunch of people changing clothes into MAGA type gear before they came in. You got John Sullivan, who was filming himself going around with people and telling them to go break this and burn this shit down. And we're in here, all this shit. Anyway, it's a good article of things like that. Moving on. Capitol rioter who stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop has surrendered, but they can't find the actual laptop. Don't know where it is anyway. So we'll hear more on that, but here's an article from the Daily Wire on that. I just found the headline of this one funny. Democrats fear inauguration violence, and they are subject matter experts. I don't know. I think we showed you the interview with Steve Cohen here, and his concerns. Well, with the National Guard securing the inauguration, saying the National Guard is some odd percent male, and only about 20% of white males voted for Biden. So they're probably not more than 25% of the people there protecting us that voted for Biden. He's worried that if the National Guard people protecting them would have voted for Trump, then they're a clear and present danger. Yeah, great. So some of you probably already saw that one. Here, I'm going to get rid of Ace here. Trump's floating the idea of starting a new political party. Interesting, but probably ain't going to happen. But I think it'll be interesting to see how the prosecutors in the state of New York, who have vowed, the attorney general there has vowed to find something on Trump and put him in jail. She hasn't exactly figured out what. She's trying, though. And it'd be interesting to see if the Biden administration, particularly the Justice Department, tries to pursue more bullshit with Trump. I don't know if they've learned. Oh, nice. 45 likes, one for each president. It'd be interesting to see if Biden allows his Justice Department to go after Trump more. Trump is he's like a cat, and I don't think he's even up to live 6 yet on this whole thing. And every time they go after him, they lose. And I maybe they should be not worried about. Maybe they should just. What's the go ahead and just take their losses and walk away from Trump and let Trump do his thing. But I don't know. This is going to be an interesting couple of weeks to see if Letitia James in New York goes after him, to see if Biden's Justice Department goes after him, and to see if he goes after them. And I'll explain that in just a second because I'm already out of time. Well, I'm going to finish, just tell you what's left here. 8 strategies for exiting the Biden year stronger than the right went in. This is kind of leveraging what Trump has done, and although some of this is establishment BS too. Thoughts on a conservative resistance. You can check that one out. Trump declassifies the Crossfire hurricane documents on his way out the door. This is going to piss some people off. And buckle up, people, when people start going and picking through this. On Tuesday afternoon, on his last night in office, President Trump declassified a cache of documents related to the Crossfire hurricane investigation. At my request, on December 30th, 2020, the Department of Justice provided the White House with a binder of materials related to the Federal Bureau of Investigation Crossfire hurricane investigation. Trump said in a statement, a portion of the documents in the binder have remained classified and have not been released to the Congress or the public. You can read the document below. And anyway, so buckle up as people start looking through that stuff. Also, New York Times did a ridiculous article on how the riots of the summer were not really as bad as everyone tried to make them out to be. This was just Republicans pouncing on well, here's the line. For months, Republicans have used last summer's protests as a political catch-all, highlighting isolated instances of property destruction and calls to defund police to motivate their base in November. Because you know what? There really wasn't any property destruction at all in the entire country. No cities that saw it for weeks and weeks and even months and months. And, no one was ever calling to defund the police because no one really thought that was a good idea. That was just Republicans pouncing and trying to make some political hay. Anyway, so this is the legal insurrection article talking about that New York Times article and laughing at it. Another one of those first day things back as far as Biden's executive orders. One of them was to rejoin the Paris Accords. Well, here's an opinion that he cannot legally get us back into the Paris Climate Accord. And so if you want to know why, you just read this one. Here it is. Because So he made no secret of his intention to get us back into the Paris Climate Accords. It's high up there on his laundry list of things to do upon taking office, even though the United States leads the world in reducing carbon emissions, despite not being part of it anymore. But the truth is, the United States was never actually legally a part of the Paris Climate Accords. The United Nations describes it as a legally binding international treaty on climate change. And it also meets the definition of a treaty under the Vienna Convention of Law of Treaties, which states that a treaty is an international agreement concluded between two or more states in written form and governed by international law. And what does the United States Constitution say about treaties? It says that the president shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. It's right there in Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. Yes, Obama unilaterally signed the United States into a treaty in the final months of his presidency, which was a very telling move. Nearly 200 countries signed the treaty on December 12, 2015, but Obama didn't sign it until nearly a year later, during the final stretch of the 2016 presidential election. Obama, who fancied himself a constitutional scholar, never even attempted to go to the Senate for ratification. Oh, wait a minute. Does that mean we were never officially in it? Instead, he avoided referring to the agreement as a treaty publicly in order to argue that Senate ratification wasn't constitutionally mandated. Obama's move was clearly designed to benefit him politically while also punting the legal ramifications of the unratified treaty to another president. As such, less than 6 months into his presidency, Trump announced, to much fury from the left, that the United States would no longer be a part of the Paris Climate Accords, negating the need for a potential dispute over the legality of the treaty. So point being, this is going to tell you why Biden can't just join it. He's got to get 2/3 of the Senate to approve it. FTG. Finally, the last couple of articles. One, it's just corporate fascism censorship. Is censorship whether committed by the state or anyone else? It doesn't, I get this argument all the time. Well, Twitter taking you down doesn't mean you're being censored, because it's not a government. It's a private company. Anyone can censor you in certain ways. It doesn't mean that there's just the difference between government censorship and companies censor you. It's still censorship. It's not in the spirit of our country and Constitution and First Amendment for private companies to be telling you what the hell you can say. They're a private business. Yeah, that guy baking the cake's a private business too. Fuck off. And then I was going to go, this was going to be what I was going to finish with: free speech, the essence of political freedom. If you read one article in the tabs today, make it this one. Again, it's from Front Page Magazine: free speech, the essence of political freedom. And on that note, I have to go. I've been going so fast. I'm sorry, chat, that I haven't necessarily paid attention. There's also a couple, oh God, I forgot about these. I had a couple tabs open just showing you how the media is going to be treating the new President Biden. I'll call it the daily tongue bath that President Biden will be getting from the media. And maybe we'll go through some of those headlines tomorrow on FTG Thursday. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. I got to go. Those of you who were patient enough to make it through that one long ass article, but I thought that was kind of the thing today, so I kept going. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button. 49 likes, that's fantastic. I think we peaked out at about 50 some people here anyway. Looks like, wow, that's interesting. And but hit the like button on the way out if you would be so kind. Share the show. If you're watching on replay, make a comment in the comment section so that I know you were here. And finally, if you want to donate to the show, donate to the cause, you can do that through the links in the description down below. Thanks everybody with the super chats and Streamlabs today. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. And Saturday, since my show is off kilter this week, I'm going Tuesday through Saturday. Saturday we'll be celebrating the second full year of the Morning Night Live. So be here Saturday if you're not doing anything. I know that's a different day for most people to be here, but hey, you know what? Maybe we'll get more people because it's a Saturday. Who knows? It's the 2-year anniversary of the Morning Night Live. So join us this Saturday. I got to go. My name's PDawgKnight. And I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is PDawgKnight, and thank you for watching today on the PDawgKnight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterward so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through the Streamlabs link, which is also in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here.